You know, governments come and go, and countries come and go. And we know this from our history, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, Rome, and many others. We have documentation of that. And did you know that governments, as well as countries, have about a 250-year cycle of birth, maturation, and then death? It takes them about 250 years. And this is based on astrology. Also, the quantum computer system called Socrates, developed by Martin Armstrong of Armstrong Economics, that also shows the same cycle. The Socrates quantum computer system shows a 244-year cycle. It's an unavoidable cycle. None of us can stop it. And guess what? We are in the midst of it. That is, we are in the end of one of these 250-year cycles for America right now. Hi, I'm JJ from Paranormal Talks, paranormaltalks.com. I'll be showing you some articles and some data on this cycle and what's in play right now, and to give you some timing. This video is particularly around the collapse of the political parties, but also our government in the USA as we know it. Now, this collapse of governments, it's going on all over, since we are in a cycle of the collapse of socialism all around the world. It's taken the form of global warming / CO2 / virus lockdown, but that's simply the names of what it looks like, what it sounds like as socialism, authoritarianism collapses around the world, and it's even more so in the United States. Here, let's take a look at my cheat sheet and let's get some numbers here. Let's make it big. Okay, we are in a 3-cycle phase. Astrology timing is very similar to the trends shown in the Socrates quantum computer system, and they are big and they are serious and they are getting our attention. They're making us pray more than probably we ever have in the previous decade or two, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's good to have God in your life, of all things. Yes, even here in America, against all that we've been brainwashed not to pay attention to. So these are the 3 cycles, 1, 2, and 3. Saturn, Pluto, talked about that. This video is about the Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is the creator and destroyer of countries, of sovereign nations. And what that means, Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto, the planet in the constellation sign Capricorn, and there are 12 signs. That means the implosion, destruction, and rebirth of governments and institutions around the world. And you can look at the announcement that Vladimir Putin made January 15 of 2020. The collapse or the resignation of his government. In Russia, the legislature all resigns. In America, we want the president to resign. So in the and then of course in the United States, Congress has not been in session as of May 11th, 2020. Anyway, this cycle that we are now in, Pluto and Capricorn, that finishes with us in December of 2024. But there is a trigger, a phase transition point for our country, America, in February 22nd, 2022, in particular for the real implosion of our government as we know it. We're already feeling the signs of it. That's why we're saying that the current presidential administration is nuts. They're destroying the country. Well, it's actually dying a natural, well, its death is being helped along because it's been quite a nasty governmental situation for quite a number of decades. But this is a natural death of a government, and this is what it looks and feels like. So it hits us hard in America, February 22nd, 2022, and then it finally finishes up December of 2024. That's the astrological. With the quantum computer system, the date is to be precise, because we like predictions to be precise and accurate. Otherwise, what good are they? That is May 7th of 2024. So that's what we have there. Let's take a look at a couple of these articles that talk about this this cycle of the death of governments and of nations. This is from a paper from Martin Armstrong, and this is what he says. One of the fascinating aspects of the business cycle is the broader 224-year cycle of political change, such as the collapse of political parties. Throughout history, there appears to be at best a frequency of 224 years that is just the maximum period of time governments seem to last without major political upheaval. Some governments did not last beyond that time frame, while others reformed and survived, albeit in a different structural formation. Others collapsed within either the 51.6-year cycle or the 72-year cycle. In other words, they were just blips on the radar screen. Some coups have lasted even 8.6 months. And a coup is a collapse and restructuring of a government. And by the way, that is what we are in the midst of here with the Trump administration. It is a silent war, and it is a coup going on. The existing deep state, the good old boys who've been around for decades and decades and really cashing in on it, they don't want to go. And the new administration, Trump, he's the one that is creating this restructuring, this reforming of our government. And it's not pretty, is it? It is messy, but it is as good as it can. It's as good as it can get with the planning that has been put in place to ensure its success. Let's take a look at another article. Yeah, here's our website. Here we go. Oh, and I did do an earlier in March of 2020 about the collapse of the Democratic Party. You can take a look at that on our YouTube channel. Now let's look at this article. This is from Armstrong Economics.com, his blog. Now, this is dated, but there's still some points that are very, very relevant even today. This was posted and commented February 22nd, 2020. Bernie's victory inspires a panic next week. And here were the contenders. Now it's just down to Joe Biden. Just to let everyone know, since more than 50% of our clients are outside of the United States, we have a very international reach with sources around the globe. Get prepared for volatility next week, and that's come and gone. Despite the Democrats' personal hatred of Trump, the international view is that Trump is the only sane leader in the world right now. Sorry, you guys who disagree with that. Us little Americans who are in our own little bubble, in our own little town, our own little city, in our own little state, in our own little world, outside of our little bubble, this is what the real people, other real people think and feel, that Trump is the only sane leader in the world right now. The world is leaning so far to the left, that is so far to socialism, communism. Capital is deeply concerned about where to hide. And this capital is what we also saw fleeing out of equities in the stock market by the elites, by our senators, by congressmen, by bankers, and other very worldly people. ahead of the virus that they knew was coming and would hit in January-ish of 2020. The world is leaning so far to the left with socialism, communism, which is the biggest killer of people in the world. Yes, it's socialism and communism. Look at your history. Capital is deeply concerned about where to hide. The number one question we are getting from overseas is, what if Bernie beats Trump? Well, that may not happen, but we're not quite sure about Biden right now, so who knows? No, I don't think that they'll let Bernie come back. Capital can flee and seek shelter offshore. Now, this is very important, and it's true. Capital, which is money, currency, which is a form of energy. That energy can run away. However, labor, yours and my labor, us employees, we cannot hoard. Labor cannot hoard itself nor move offshore. All of us Americans, we can't all get on a boat and go to some other country to get jobs. The average person is stuck, for they cannot protect their labor. Our wages, the salary wages we're paid go down, 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 down. So we are stuck, for we cannot protect our labor. So the working guy suffers the arrows that come from politicians who never understand that capital will just abandon their crazy agendas, leaving only the wage earner, that's you and me, us cattle, us little people, to pay the bills, which ends in revolution and civil war. Bloomberg is the authoritarian dictator whose staff has just been, yes, sir, et cetera, et cetera. The Democratic elites are beside themselves. They are not going to take this lightly. In the United States politics, a broker convention, sometimes referred to as an open convention and closely related to a contested convention, can occur during a presidential election when a political party fails to choose a nominee on the first round of delegate voting at the party's nominating convention. And here's Stalin with his famous quote, "Those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the vote decide everything." That's why this virus crisis, never let a serious crisis go to waste. That's why the Democrats are using it to insist on mail-in ballots, because who counts those votes? They decide everything, and they must get a Democrat back in office and get rid of this annoying Trump person and his administration. This time, the unpledged delegates, better known as superdelegates, will make up about 16% of Democratic Party delegates in 2020. These are the real party insiders who are not committed to voting based on the outcome of the state's primary caucus, which flies in the face of the very purpose of primary voting. As Stalin said about elections, it is not the votes, but those who count the votes. So anyway, the 2016 election was stolen from Bernie because we all want a socialist in there, and we want free stuff forever and ever until everyone runs out of money. So here we are looking at the split of the Democrats. For the elites are not about to accept a socialist, Bernie, and they will lose the financial support of both the corporates and the 1%. By the way, the reason why Bernie is in there, the reason why Biden is in there, is because corporations who have all this money that they put into and support campaigns of the candidate they want to be president, who will create laws that create goodies for them. So the corporates and the 1%, those hidden people, the hidden enemy, they won't support a socialist because they know it doesn't do them any good. The rumblings are to draft Hillary, but she probably won't even be available. That will most likely be the straw that breaks the back of the Democrat Party. Meanwhile, brace yourself for wild markets next week. We may begin to see European and Asian liquidation of equities in fear of the 2020 election ahead. We'll probably be seeing it, if you care to dig, you'll be seeing and hearing more about that liquidation of equities, and it will ripple through and hit our shores also in America. This. Okay. And let's look at this last article. This was also published in February of 2024. Trump overrules Feinstein, flips liberal Ninth Circuit Court to majority conservative judges in 3 years. Oh my God, that is a huge loss for the socialists of this country, the Democrats. It is a game over the Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris. They have, you see how quickly things change? You see how quickly things move around politics and finances, especially politics, laws and pronouncements and executive orders. Whoa. So they have lost the battle to keep the normally liberal socialists, very, very socialist communists, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in safe socialist hands. Trump has officially flipped the court to a conservative majority against all efforts from the two. And this is why this conservative majority, this is what destroys the Democratic Party. And then soon after, the Republican Party. But definitely, first and foremost, the Socialist Democrat Party. So, in all efforts from the two California senators, they tried to use red slips to stop the changes in the court, but lost. The results from this epic and long sought after change are already dooming the Democrats in a few cases. Without this court, this particular court, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, to give the socialist rulings, the socialist power will continue to wane in America. Oh my gosh. Lastly, oh, and then there's this gentleman Collins. Let's get his name. When President Trump kicks off his accomplishments since taking office, he frequently mentions, and I think a lot of us people don't understand this and how massive it is he frequently mentions his aggressive makeover of a key sector of the federal judiciary, the Circuit Courts of Appeal, where he has appointed 51 judges to lifetime jobs. And he did that in just 3 years, bada boom, bada bang. In few places has the effect been felt more powerfully than in the sprawling Ninth Circuit, which covers California and 8 other states. Because of Trump's success in filling vacancies, the San Francisco-based circuit, long dominated by big fat socialist appointees, has suddenly shifted to the right, to conservatives, with an even more pronounced tilt expected in the years ahead. By the way, a conservative is not necessarily a Republican, because the Republicans have done nasty deeds equal to socialist Democrats. So 10 new people at once sends a shockwave. So this is what happened. 10 new people at once sends a shockwave through the system, a Ninth Circuit judge said. Among those who have caused the most confusion, is Judge Daniel Collins, a former federal prosecutor and partner of a prestigious law firm. Some judges said that in the early months of his tenure, Collins had appeared oblivious to court tradition and probably payoffs. He has sent memos at all times of the night in violation of a court rule and objected to other judges' rulings in language that some colleagues found combative. Now, have you ever dealt with attorneys? Have you ever dealt with lawyers? They're supposed to be combative in many cases. I mean, it's an ability and a skill that you need to have in your bag of tricks, in your skill set as an attorney, is combativeness. Hello. So why do colleagues say he's combative? Well, all these other colleagues are combative too. I mean, they're judges, they're legal types. It's great to have one on your side, but when you don't and you have one against you, they're very combative against you. Collins has definitely bulldozed his way around here already in a short time, one Ninth Circuit judge said. Either he doesn't care or he doesn't realize that he has offended half the court already. They're offended. Well, that's how the game is played, you guys. So there you go with the breakup of the Democratic Party. Uh, I think this is some pretty good proof. The fact that we have 51 conservatives on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and many other courts and the Supreme Court, et cetera, et cetera. So the Democrats, the socialists are going down, and they won't go down softly into the night. It, as you can already tell, it's a nasty drug out fight. But this is what's coming up. This is a 250-year cycle, the Socrates computer system, a 224-year cycle. But it is upon us, and it won't finish with us until 2024, in the United States in particular. So I hope this prepares you a little bit of what's coming up. And these are predictions with a very high accuracy rate, most of all to help you prepare psychologically and to prepare you for what is coming up. Knowing is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves, because we do not like the unknown, do we? But this helps us, these predictions help us with knowing. So thank you for joining us. And please, could you bless us and please like and subscribe. It's always great to have new members, and also thank all the new members who have been joining every week. It just keeps snowballing and snowballing. It's really great. And thank you so much. I love it when you guys show up, and love chatting with you. Please comment, and let's keep this going. Thank you. This is Paranormal Talks. And JJ signing out, and we'll be talking to you later. Thanks. Bye.